At the start of the much-anticipated inter-Korean talks, the opening statements from both sides were warm enough to thaw the inter-Korean tensions, at least on the surface. North Korea's delegation showed a much friendlier attitude than expected. Let's take a look at what the pointmen from both sides said about the opening of the talks of high significance.
Talks have begun after a long period of severed inter-Korean ties. But as the old Korean saying goes, well begun is half done. This may sound like a contradiction, but we won't settle with just the first step. We will take more gradual steps to resolve issues one by one.
We came to the table thinking it would be nice to give the world a New Year's gift by holding a successful inter-Korean dialogue with a serious and sincere attitude.
Now for a more in-depth analysis on what we can expect from today's historic talks, we're joined by Dr. Kim Kwang-jin, a research fellow at the Institute for National Security Strategy. Dr. Kim, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me here.
As we just saw, we're hearing news from on the remarks made by the delegations from both sides, and they sound very reconciliatory. How do you assess the progress of the talks so far?
The dialogue, took place in a very friendly atmosphere. It is conciliatory, and the process is so fast. They exchanged already the draft statement. So I think we can expect very good results of these talks.
So the progress is good so far. Now, we know that the talks are being held with a primary focus on North Korea's participation in Pyeongchang Winter Games, as well as the reunion of families separated by the Korean War. Could you elaborate for us in detail what kind of agreements will be made on those two issues?
This talk is focused on North Korea's participation in Pyeongchang Olympic Games. And in his New Year address, Kim Jong-un himself, said that North Korea is ready to take part in the Olympic Games, and he also said that they are ready for the inter-Korean talks. So the procedure after that was so fast, within 28 hours, I think our government proposed to North Korea to take a high-level talks, and then in 2 days. After South Korea and United States agreed to postpone joint exercise drill, joint military drills until after Olympics, and then North Korea, responded to our proposal to, hold these high-level talks. So the, procedure was so quick and brief, and we could expect from that, North Korea's participation in Olympics is no problem. They are very active in having very active, approach to this. And of course, between North Korea and international community and inter-Korean, issues, we have a lot of issues, right, including the nuclear, human rights, and, reunion of separate families, etc. And North Korea is now under very strong pressure of sanctions from the international community over their nuclear and missile provocations. So to handle other issues will push us into troubles, like nuclear issue, and also the military tension, easing military tensions and other stuff. It's very complicated, because it is linked to each other. Right. So I think our government proposed to North Korea to hold this reunion meeting again of the separate families. If this talk produced the best results, it would be that the agreement of having another reunion meeting the Lunar New Year's Day. But at least I think these talks would produce the participation of North Korea in Pyeongchang Olympic Games.
And why is North Korea's participation in the Winter Games so important? What does North Korea gain from it, and what does it mean to South Korea and the world?
It's very important because, last year we have seen very high tension, between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And actually there were 3, aircraft carrier, fleet around our peninsula. And the tension was so high. Right. So everybody wants this, to calm down this tension. And North Korea decided, and actually our government proposed to North Korea to take part in the Olympics and asked them to come to the dialogue table. And they rejected that. Right. They didn't respond to that. But this time, with Kim Jong-un's New Year's address, they suddenly decided to take the talks and also take part in the Olympic Games. So it's important because we can ease this tension. Maybe I don't know how long, but at least during the Olympic time period, we can do that. So it is important. And of course, and also our government's approach towards North Korea is that we need to have talks and turn this tension into a peaceful situation and solve all issues through dialogue and through peaceful means. And North Korea didn't respond to that. Right. So it is important for us to have this peaceful Olympic Games here, in our country, and also we can ease the tension at least for several months, and also to the best, maybe we can expect United States and North Korea will sit down someday at the table and talk on nuclear issues. So it can work as a turning point for the future, Korean Peninsula, and also for future of the nuclear issue.
So today's talks has many significance in various aspects. Now, North Korea's pointman Lee Sun-kwon has, fortunately, answering to President Moon Jae-in's request to hold talks, has said today that the North hopes to resolve inter-Korean issues through dialogue, which is quite a big statement to make at a critical time like this. Now let's take a quick look at the briefing delivered by South Korea's Vice Unification Minister before we talk further.
North Korea has made clear that it's determined to reach groundmaking momentum by making today's talk constructive. North Korea has also suggested seeking reconciliation and unity while resolving inter-Korean issues through dialogue.
Now, as we just saw, Dr. Kim, North Korea's pointman Lee Sun-kwon has stated that used the term groundbreaking momentum. What does he mean by groundbreaking momentum? Will things be really different this time? Is North Korea really changing, or is it just using today's talks yet again for its own political gains?
Groundbreaking, means that during the last several years, North Korea, two Korea's, relations was so bad. We didn't have a talk, we closed down, of course, because of North Korea's, nuclear provocation. We closed down gasoline industrial complex, and in 2008, I think Kumgangsan tourism was also stopped. So I think he mentioned about this groundbreaking. It can work as a turning point for new and good, inter-Korean relations. When we assess the future or the attitude of some country or some person, we should read their, records and history, and also their policy and their utterance, what they say now. But they've already, they've of course changed, they responded to this dialogue and they decided to take part in Olympic Games. But other things, they are having same stance on the nuclear issue, and they haven't changed other, stuff too, military, human rights, and almost everything. They've not changed it, And in Kim Jong-un's New Year's address, he mentioned about the participation in Pyeongchang Olympic Games. They said that based on achievement of North Korea's nuclear armed status, they will forget everything, the past stuff, and then we start again the inter-Korean, relations. But I don't think we can do that. And we have other things, including the reunion of separate families. And in the past, the history record said that they are not active in having these reunions of families. So We should see, of course, there is a small beginning, of course, but we need to wait and see. But from their record and what they are saying now, we cannot expect that much, change in North Korea's stance to other problems.
So you don't think North Korea will change fundamentally, especially when it comes to their nuclear program. But at least on the surface, North Korea seems quite sincere this time. Do you think that perhaps the two Koreas will be able to hold talks on a regular basis after today's talks? And also, will they be able to address the nuclear issue sometime down the road?
I think this talk will produce the result that North Korea will surely take part in Olympic Games. And also they will state that they will continue the talks and broaden it to other issues, including the reunion of separate families. And also maybe during Pyeongchang Olympic Games, they will send very high level delegation to the games. So, and also United States will send very high level delegation, including Trump, President Trump's family members. So it is likely that they will meet. And there was a news that United States tried very hard to have a talk with North Korea, meeting in Beijing. And they always try that.
The U.S.
Yes, and also North Korea. They didn't abandon all talks. They are reluctant to take part in the talks on their nuclear issue and on their human rights issue, something like that. But they are sometimes open to talk. So I think this case will be a good beginning and will serve as a good momentum to having other talks, finally including the nuclear issue.
Do you think during today's talks, other sensitive issues, such as the reopening of the Kaesong Joint Industrial Complex and the Mount Kumgang Tourism Project, do you think these sensitive issues will be brought to the table today?
No. I don't think two sides have brought this on the table because it's very sensitive. International community is very hard, on imposing sanctions to North Korea now. China is very serious. On the very date that we announced the dialogue between two Koreas, China began to stop selling iron products, metal products. So it's very serious, and it is international issue. The United States Security Council and our government, individually is imposing sanctions on North Korea. So the sanction is focused on halting the inflow of foreign hard cash to Kim Jong-un and North Korean regime for their nuclear and missile program. So it's a very serious issue. So I don't think they've discussed this this time. And our government and our delegation raised the issue of nuclear issue to North Korean delegation. They just listen to that. That means if they fight, then the result of the talk will be failed, and it will affect their participation in Olympic Games. So I think they will avoid this serious issues this time.
So the sensitive issues such as the reopening of Kaesong as well as the Mount Kumgang project will not be raised, and also the nuclear issue will not be talked about that much. Now, given that, having said that, many people here in South Korea remain skeptical. They question the meaning of holding so many inter-Korean talks when we know almost for sure that North Korea will never give up its nuclear ambition. What's your take on this?
Actually, having to do something is better than nothing, actually. So at least we should have to meet and talk. We can hear each other, what they think and what is their problem. And, and through these talks, we can solve all issues peacefully through peaceful means. So, of course, North Korea still does not, show any sign of fundamental change, especially on their nuclear issue. and they're saying that they are nuclear armed state, and they can even, strike United States, American main soil. So it will take time, and it will take a lot of efforts for us to have good results on nuclear issue, I suppose.
One last question before I let you go. Do you think there is any possibility of the U.S. and North Korea sitting down for sideline talks at the Pyeongchang Winter Games?
I think, President Trump also said that he hoped this inter-Korean talk would produce good result beyond that in Olympic Games. And that means that United States, of course, wants serious talk on nuclear issue with North Korea. So why don't we try to let all parties to have a talk, just begin talk during that Olympic Games, because we are having all these high-level delegations and having good chance to have dinner or it is a celebration. So I think we can use this chance, a very good chance of having them talk.